Cosmocentric Mystic with another update on what's going on. Currently, I am headed out to the SageMen Retreat that my brother Manifest Rise put it on. I'm really excited about it. I'm really interested in refocusing my mind and my energy on my spiritual development, and I look forward to what's going to happen here. I don't know what's going to happen. Brother Manifest and I, we recently reconnected and decided to start working together again, and so I'm excited about this. I know Dr. Yu just in brief passing, maybe like almost a decade ago, and so I don't really know what to expect. What I experience, I will show. What I cannot, I will not. But I'm really excited about it, and I look forward to what I'm going to learn here, or what I'm going to just experience, and then what I'm going to strengthen inside my own self. Because I know a lot, but at this moment, because of corporate world and just being a bit older after leaving college, do I implement everything I know? The answer is I don't. I'm just, of course, it's a reflection on how things are going with me. I don't implement all of the spiritual tools that I know, and I need to. And so I look forward to this gathering. Look forward to kind of just, being with brothers, sharing stories, being motivated by the work and the discipline I see that other brothers are engaged in. Hopefully make some good connections here, do some more work, and then just be in the energy. That's what I'm looking forward to. So I'm on my way out here. I love the fact that it's like out of the city. Right now I'm very familiar with this type of setup, where like I'm driving in Southern Maryland right now. It's at this place called Chapco or something like that. I'm on this 2-lane road. There are like trees on either side of me. Right now there's a suspicious looking white car behind me, so you can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this around so you all can see what I'm seeing. So what I like about this is I've been to several different spiritual gatherings, and they all have this in common: going out into nature, or going out into a more natural environment than the city, and communing with nature. There's something very powerful about going away from the city. I've been in discussions with other people who are like adamant about it's in the city, brother. Do the spiritual work in the city. Okay, that's all good and great, but there is a lot of healing energy just in nature. And so I know that for a minute I was dissuaded because I wasn't getting, my view reinforced with other people's perception, and I got to get over that. Because people are only going to talk to you about what they know, and when they don't know what they don't know, that's just how it goes. So if they don't know and you know that, then you let them know. And if they don't want to know what you know, you just got to manifest what you know. And if they want to know what you know, give them the opportunity to come and understand so they can know what you know, and then they would know. It sounds so funny, but that's just the way it goes. That's the way it is. Peace.
I'm usually behind the camera.
Before I begin, you guys know me as Khalil Masi, Mfidishi Khalil Masi. I'm Shaha Mfidishi Masi's son. I'm also a Yoruba priest. The Yoruba tradition is, of course, is from Nigeria, West Africa. We're going to do a libation. It's a dance to do before we start. There are many ways to do it. This is the way I do it. This is going to be a brief one. This is not going to be long, really. And like I always like to say before I do anything I do that's correct is on behalf of the ancestors and the elders. Anything I do incorrect is on behalf of myself. So what I'm going to do is do parts or most of it in Europe, but then I'll come back and talk about what I said done in the English language also. So it's interesting you spoke about holy water earlier. There's a way we make holy water also in the Yoruba tradition, so we'll do that first. We write the Odu or the sacred messages from the Yoruba tradition, from Olodumare, the one creator, and we're given through his prophet, Aruma, the divine Aruma. And what I do is write the sacred Odu, Eji Ogbe, which is the first symbol of pure light. I did it directly on the water. And then I chant. Mi àti wáyé ẹ̀gbọ́n àti ọ̀run ọ̀ká àlà lóde ìmọ̀gún lè tó kíkẹ́ fún ọmọ tuntun tí ìṣẹ́ àbálẹ̀ ìgbọ́n. Òun rẹ̀ díẹ̀ kí kú mọ́ni ẹwọ́ ìfẹ́ ẹlọ́kùnrin fún ọmọ tuntun fún ìkọ̀pá. Òun rẹ̀ máa ti dé mọ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀rẹ́ àṣẹ o àṣẹ. So that's a simple process. Now, this is the way I do it. Some may or may not do this process the way I do. There are many different ways to do it. There's no one way. Right? So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to get to a certain point, and then if you want to say your ancestors' names, I'll give you that opportunity to say their names. Right? Volleyball la fi, volleyball le gumere. Mojiba ibaye gum bobo gum by ye. Now at this point, if anyone wishes to say the names of your ancestors, just freely at any point. You don't have to wait for each other, just put it out.
Reverend Stamps,
Richard Matthew,
Diane Curry, Connie Stamps,
Mildred Campbell,
Uncle Wardell.
It could be family lineage or just ancestors, period. Malcolm X.
Toussaint L'Ouverture.
Martin Luther King.
And then I will go forward. Once you go about the research, room about the research, you buy it. You don't come and say. You got the room in Yannick and but you can't come and say, room. Keep on the music. You can't come and say, Rabbi Malama. You can't come and say, no. 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 Kosi ku, kosi room, kosi fo, kosi tido, kosi gina, kosi eba, kosi esi, ewa. Riku baba wa, riku ewa. Re ashe, ashe o.
Ashe.
And so, just to give you an insight on what I was saying, I just pretty much, I gave homage first to the water, to the cool water that I was pouring in the water. It's life. Gave homage also to the Creator, to his angelic forces, we call it Risha. I gave a homage to
what I'm doing, Brother Manifest asked me to focus on purification foods. This time of year, going into the winter solstice coming up, you want to work on things that are more cleansing and fortifying for the kidneys. Usually the fall season is more like the time of year to concentrate on the lungs, the respiratory passages. So I'm kind of doing a combination of that and also I think generally it's important to focus on intestinal health. That's where a lot of us really have issue, and most people are not having bowel movements multiple times a day. I don't know if that applies to everybody here or not, but most people I come into contact with, if they're going once every other day, that's good. But when in reality, every time we eat, we should be having a bowel movement to account for that. And a full bowel movement, not one that comes out in little pieces, or when it comes out real thin, or you shouldn't have to strain for it to come out, all kind of stuff like that. So these are just general things that I find that a lot of people don't really know and are not familiar with. So I always like to incorporate things that focus on intestinal health. Intestinal health also affects lung health too, so it goes hand in hand. The intestines are the small intestine. I'm trying to see if I remember this figure correctly, but it's give or take in most human beings, most adult human beings, about 20-ish feet long, the small intestines. And large intestines of the colon is usually about 6 feet. And this is responsible for the bulk of the processing, the absorption of nutrients from food, and of course eliminating waste in the fecal form. So when that's not at its optimum, it affects everything else. It also is very largely responsible for the immune system. And so if the intestinal tract is not right, your immune system is going to be off as well. So that's why it's very, very important. And with that, it's important to incorporate live foods, raw foods, particularly raw foods that are plant-based and that have significant amounts of fiber and things like that, and certain nutrients like magnesium, calcium, B vitamins. These are zinc, so on and so forth. These are things that are essential nutrients for the health of the intestinal tract, for proper functioning. So first thing I started out with was just a simple fruit salad. Fruit salad. In this particular fruit salad, I have a combination of pineapples. You have the green Granny Smith apples, pineapples, green Granny Smith apples, blueberries, and cranberries. So try to use things that are also like pretty much in season or around in season. Those foods tend to be foods that are going to be better for your body at that particular time of year. In addition to I'll talk a little bit about those particular fruits and why I chose those fruits. I also thought to incorporate pomegranate, but I opted out of that, just feeling like this was enough. But pineapple, to start out with, pineapple is very high in enzymes. So if you're not familiar with what enzymes are and the role that the enzymes play in the body, they help to stimulate any kind of chemical reaction in the body. Enzymes are needed for proper digestion, and enzymes also, like in the case of where people have tumors and things of that nature, enzymes actually help to break down tumors. They help to break down masses and abnormal growths in the body, and they help to prevent them from occurring in the first place. So when things are moving, flowing, energy is at high point, those type of things don't get the opportunity to develop. So that's where the pineapple comes in. It's also rich in vitamin C, which vitamin C is said to be like the only vitamin that the body cannot produce itself, that you have to actually get from food. So it usually comes from more raw foods. Vitamin C is damaged in the cooking process. So when we eat cooked foods all the time, we don't get sufficient amounts of vitamin C. And vitamin C will tend to be higher in certain foods, your raw greens, your citrus fruits, and then under that you have things like the berries and so on and so forth. So that's why I incorporated that in here as well. We have cranberries, which cranberries are in season now. Cranberries are one of the best fruits for the urinary tract and for the kidneys. It works as a tonic for the kidneys. A lot of people associate the cranberry juice with clearing up urinary tract infections in women. You know, it can have the same kind of effect for men. It's not just for women, but the cranberries themselves are better. Most people who drink cranberry juice, just as a side note, who think that that's going to work, they get in the ocean spray and stuff like that. They add in sugar and other kind of, you got to be fresh cranberries. Everybody here has had fresh cranberries before?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody who has it? You haven't had a fresh cranberry before? Okay. I'm going to give you one right now just to taste it so you have the experience of it.
You look at it like what the...
I'm studying it. It looked like a small grape.
All right, so how does it taste?
Strong.
Strong. Strong what way? What kind of flavor?
What's the word? It's not sour.
Tart.
Like they more tart. Yeah. Because it's still fresh afterwards. It's bitter. That's
So you know cranberries are not supposed to be sweet.
right.
So that's so any cranberry juice that's sweet, they're adding something else to it, which takes away from the medicinal or healing or health support qualities that they have. In addition to that, with juices across the board, unless you're making them yourself or you're going to a juice bar, they pasteurize the juices. You know, which the pasteurization process does a couple things. It kills the vitamin content. It kills the enzymes, because the enzymes are responsible for breaking things down, the degradation and the spoiling process, so to speak. So they want to kill that so they can be more shelf stable. It can last long in case you don't buy it tomorrow. And then it also concentrates the sugars. So you'll see that a cranberry juice, especially one that's been pasteurized, even if there's nothing else added to it, it's going to have more sugar content than the cranberries themselves.
How about now they saying, some juices saying they cold pressed?
Yeah, cold press is just like you pressing it through a juicer, basically.
Okay.
You know, a lot of terminologies are just thrown out there to make things sound fancier than they really are.
You can charge more.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like cold press olive oil, you know, is a cold press, it is expeller press. It's just the process that they use to produce whatever product it is. You know, but it doesn't make it better or worse, because practically it's going through the same process.
But it's better than pasteurized though.
It has nothing to do with pasteurization. It could be cold pressed and then pasteurized afterwards. Pasteurization is a heating process. It's like you're boiling the juice to kill off bacteria, germs, enzymes, so on and so forth that would contribute to the quick spoiling of the product. So that's what pasteurization is. That's why they got to pasteurize milk and all of that kind of stuff like that, because other than that, a couple days, if that, it's going to start to develop bacteria and stuff like that that makes people sick.
So I'm trying to get to what juice is good other than having somebody make it on the spot.
That's the best. That's the best.
Right.
It's like to get around that, it's going to be pasteurized if it's put on the shelf.
Okay.
There's actually a juice that's out now, speaking of, and I want to say their brand name is Garden of Flavor or something like that. They sell it in like Whole Foods, Wegmans has it, but it's a particular brand, and they do some kind of a vacuum seal thing where they press the juices fresh, they don't pasteurize them, and they do some kind of vacuum thing before they when they seal it to take all of the oxygen out. And that helps the juices to preserve for longer, so they can be in a refrigerator for maybe like a couple months or something like that without spoiling. But other than that, 99% of the juices are probably pasteurized.
So
unless you're making them fresh.
You said that was Garden of Life?
No, not Garden of Life. It's like Garden of Flavor or something like that. I forget the exact name off the top of my head.
What else you got here?
Yes, so the green apples, the green Granny Smith apples, again, have a more tart flavor. Things that generally have a more tart flavor are good for the liver and helping to cleanse the liver and the kidneys. So it works on both. The liver and the kidneys are like the filtration systems of the body. So anything that comes in the body that needs to be filtered out to keep the blood from being poisoned, and so to speak, you got to go through those two elements. The apples also help to cleanse the intestinal tract. The blueberries are very rich in antioxidants as well. Any kind of dark colored foods in general will tend to be very rich in antioxidants. Will help to strengthen like the kidney area too. It's also really good for like brain support, mental health support. And the blueberries have a very beneficial effect on helping to clear the heart and blockages and plaque and cholesterol and things like that from around the heart. So that's this selection here, the fruit salad. Turn this off. Yeah, okay. All right, second thing here is a salad. So the salad is a spinach salad. In it so far I've added red bell peppers and onions. So onions, which are very protective, helps to keep away colds, flu, viruses, have antiviral qualities. So the onions, your garlic, your leeks, scallions, all of those things in that family have the same kind of quality in varying strengths. You know, with onion and garlic being the strongest, and you can tell it in the flavor. You know, that is definitely the strongest in that regard. But here I'm using the yellow onions. We're using the red bell peppers are also high in vitamin C as well. And the red bell peppers help with the kidneys also. So it has they also have higher water contents. And me and Brother Manifest actually was talking before on the way here about just how like a lot of people are dehydrated. Mm-hmm. And so when we're not drinking enough water, one of the things that we can do to counter that, of course, nothing is a substitute for water, first and foremost. But one of the ways that we can kind of help to supplement that is to eat a lot of foods that have more water content. You know, so that's where you get these types of fruits as well. The red bell pepper, the onions have higher water contents. You know, other foods, which I have back here, like the celery, you know, has a high water content as well. Typically, cabbage does. Broccoli's a pretty significant source of a water content also. You know, so some of these kind of things like that. But generally speaking, anything that has like a juice inside of it, you know, will tend to have a higher water content. Things that will have like a crunch, but a soft crunch, you know, will tend to be higher water content type of fruits and vegetables.
So why is that important to consume foods with higher water content during the solstice, winter solstice?
Because it's helping with purifying the kidneys. And water is also important for the intestinal tract and the digestive element too. You know, when you're passing a bowel movement, the thing that happens right before that is water is extracted through the colon. You know, so that's why some people will tend to struggle when they have a bowel movement also.
That's the struggle, bro.
It's the struggle.
Getting rid of the mess.
The struggle, right?
Indeed. Yeah, but that dehydration, you know, it makes the stool harder. So when you drink more water, you know, it's a natural stool softener. You don't need to go buy the over-the-counter stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, you drink more water, you eat more foods that have higher water content and things that have fiber.
So before we taste this, what should this just be what we do for the next two weeks? Just in terms of, you know, fruit salads, regular salads, just that should be it?
Yeah, this, well, I wouldn't say this should be it for the day. But this is definitely a good place to start. You know, a nice fruit salad for breakfast. You know, a nice hefty green salad for lunch. And then you can eat like, dinner time, you can have like a more full out meal, and that's kind of the structure that we're doing here. Some people will reverse it. Sometimes I'll reverse it depending on what your energetic needs are. So I personally like to generally have heavier meals during the middle of the day because that's when the energy is the highest. And then later at night, you want to eat a little lighter because you're about to go to sleep. Your digestive system, you don't want a lot on your digestive system at that point in time. It's not as active, But for the sake of this time frame, we're kind of doing that a little bit in reverse because if you're going into an activity
Warrior
after
training,
warrior training, any kind of physical activity, you don't want a lot on your digestive system then. So we're doing the lighter foods now, and I'll work on preparing the more filling stuff for a little bit later on. And we have that scheduled for the early part of the evening, so that way it gives you time, gives your digestive time to work through that, and not just you go right asleep on it. That way your body can process it first, and then by the time you go to sleep, your body doesn't have as much work to do. Wake up. That also affects your energy levels. Mental health is a big discussion right now, and that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about the mental health aspect of things. Is just that the intestinal tract and the digestive system has a lot to do with it. There's a lot of people who are very clogged up and who are a lot of, trying to process a lot, whether that be food-wise, whether that be information-wise, and all of that affects your body on a physical level as well. So the other things I'm going to add to this salad, I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds.
Yes.
So I have some here. Finest.
What's the importance of pumpkin seed?
Pumpkin seeds, very rich in zinc, very rich in magnesium. This is considered like one of the top foods for the prostate. And it helps to reduce and or prevent like swelling of the prostate for the men who are older. It also is very good for the immune system, and pumpkin seeds actually helps to kill intestinal worms. So this is like one of the great natural remedies for like intestinal parasites and things like that, is to have like a handful of pumpkin seeds. Some people will use the pumpkin seed oil in the same way. It has very similar quality. All right. So I also have that I'm going to add to the salad.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to eating in this manner more intentionally over the next 14 days.
All right.
Yeah.
And you're looking forward to somebody preparing this stuff for you?
Might be going to New Vegan or something.
Sweet greens.
What's that?
Sweet greens.
Sweet greens, yeah.
They say little TV, or what is it really? Is it around the same?
Okay,
Yeah.
so with water
Sweet greens is kind of
is
affordable, I
relative
think.
to the
$7.50?
body's needs.
Huh?
One of the first gauges is body weight.
I said $7.50.
So a good gauge is like half
But
of your body
I know
weight
what you're
in
talking
ounces of
about.
water per day. So if you weigh, I weigh give or take about 150 pounds. So half of my body weight would be 75. So I'm looking at about 75 ounces of water a day. So that's an approximation. 75 in practical terminology is give or take about 2.5 liters. So that means every day I should be drinking somewhere around 2.5 liters of water. In order for me to,
Sorry. Does that add, are you, besides drinking the water, are you saying total? Like, I mean, because you're talking about adding foods or eating foods with water content, like that as well, in addition to water? What are you saying? Okay,
to keep your body properly hydrated, but that's about a shooting point, generally speaking. You know, the most food, not most, but a lot of foods that we eat have some kind of water content if you're eating natural foods.
Okay.
If you're not eating natural foods, then you need more water because now you got to compensate for that and the water that takes out of your body. If you eat a lot of dried stuff, you got to, you might want to implement a little bit more water because that's taking more water out your body too. So everything that we consume, our body has to try to balance out, basically. Alcohol consumption. For anybody who's a drinker, one of the ways that they kind of stretch that out is they drink more water beforehand. Because alcohol dehydrates the body. It makes you get drunk faster if your body's dehydrated. So all of those kind of things like that play a role. So I'm gonna get out here. What did I just bring out?
This is making me hungry.
Nutritional
Eat something.
So just as a standard, personally, I like to add a lot of onion and garlic for flavoring purposes, but also for the health benefits.
What did you say you were adding with the garlic?
It's just said onion and garlic. I like to add a lot of that to my foods, generally speaking. So here, I'm going to talk about the stuff I know it's not labeled. But this is nutritional yeast. Everybody familiar with nutritional yeast?
Yes.
What is that? I heard it.
Okay, nutritional yeast. So this is a form of a non-active yeast. That means that it's a yeast, but it's not alive. And what they do with nutritional yeast is they'll basically kind of cultivate it. And when they cultivate it, the yeast forms like B vitamins. So when you consume it, it gives your body a natural source of B vitamins through that fermentation kind of a process. So B vitamins are necessary for the blood, necessary for your stress levels, your nervous system, necessary for your metabolism, and also necessary for your brain function. So I use this sometimes with some of the foods that I do to help to add B vitamins, because that's another thing that a lot of times gets like destroyed in the cooking process and stuff like that. So I'll tend to add this to the salad. And it also kind of has like a cheesy-ish kind of a flavor to it. So it kind of can serve on both elements. It can be like a flavoring, and then it also gives you those benefits. So I'm going to add some of this to it. So you see here, just kind of sprinkle this around. So your standard serving size for the nutritional yeast is about 1.5 tablespoons. I'm just doing the eye measure right quick. So nutritional yeast, there's also a brewer's yeast. You can do the same thing with brewer's yeast. Brewer's yeast is less B vitamins in it. Nutritional yeast, they add more B vitamins to it.
Is brewer's yeast active?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them are non-active yeast.
Okay.
Bragg's. Yeah, I've seen that before. Bragg's. I saw Bragg's. The company Bragg's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
The
saw
apple
them.
cider vinegar?
Yeah, they have some nutritional yeast.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Yeah, they do make the nutritional yeast also. I'll take some of these. So I use either raw or sprouted pumpkin seeds. I don't use the roasted variety. Sprouted is the best. These are raw. Just for the FYI.
Why would you say sprouted is the best?
Because when seeds and nuts are raw, they have a component called phytic acid. And phytic acid can sometimes interfere with mineral absorption. So that means that you can eat it and you can get the nutrients from it, the minerals, the zinc, the magnesium, manganese, so on and so forth. But you're not going to absorb it as well. So when they're sprouted, the sprouting process makes those minerals more bioavailable. It's like every plant kind of has, what do you call that? Like a survival instinct, for lack of a better way of putting it. So that's when you get into just remembering that plants are living beings just the same way animals are. So they have survival instincts and mechanisms the same way. Just like certain animals, they can't fight, but they might be naturally fast. You know, certain animals are going to be more ferocious. Certain animals are going to be able to hide really well. So plants, they have certain ways to kind of ensure their survival. So certain things like with seeds, since seeds are the reproducing part of the plant. If somebody or something was to consume all of the seeds, there would be no plant. So they have mechanisms that kind of like block, okay, we're not going to give you everything. You know, that's kind of how it is. So when it goes through the sprouting process, okay, now new life is forming, so it eases up on that, if that makes sense. Right?
Man, we're hungry, man.
No doubt.
So that's that. The pumpkin seeds.
That's great for virility and vitality, right? For men, pumpkin seeds. Right?
Definitely.
Bring that warrior energy,
Definitely.
creative energy, appropriate.
Iron too. That's another thing. It's rich in iron, as well as the spinach. Of course, if anybody's watched Popeye when they were younger,
Let me keep the younger.
Yeah.
you know about that aspect of things.
Gold child.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attempt to make a quick dressing.
He said make, not get, make.
Yeah, right.
Thought that would be good. Instead of buying one, we can make stuff.
All right, he's making a dressing. So, see what this looks like.
All right, so I'm going to do part olive oil. Let's see, and if I can have anybody who's willing to volunteer
To eat? That's me.
on the preparation side. Wash your hands if you are. Because I'm going to use lemon juice.
Okay.
So you can use lemon juice. Sometimes I use lime juice. The real quick thing too is this apple cider vinegar. So matter of fact, I'm going to do a mix. I'm going to do some apple cider vinegar and I'm going to do some lemon juice. That'll make this move a little more quickly too.
What was the first thing you put in there?
Olive oil.
Olive oil, okay.
Yes, extra virgin, cold pressed olive oil.
How much
100%.
you put what is that, a cup?
Put about 3/4 of a cup in there for the
Okay.
olive oil. Typically, I'll use about, give or take, twice that amount on the lemon juice or the apple cider vinegar or a combination. So we're gonna use these lemons. I think maybe about 3. Just kind of cut them and then we'll squeeze them in here.
Okay.
And the lemon juice and apple cider vinegar also help to cut and break the fat up in the oils, so it makes it easier for the oils to digest the process well. All right, then I'm going to add a few culinary elements here. So what I'm going to use for this.
You just cut in half?
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. You can squeeze those right in here. I'll put it over here, make it easier.
What's the name of this dressing?
Don't have a name.
Okay, gotcha.
Just dress.
Yes. This is what it's like. What would be like a vinaigrette, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a vinaigrette.
It's all this one.
But I'm putting my own twist on it. So I have here some. What is the basil? Oh, here it is. I have some basil.
Mm-hmm.
I have some lemongrass. Lemongrass powder. So these are all warming spices.
Gotcha.
You know, warming. What I mean by warming spices are spices that are going to increase heat, increase circulation in the body. That's going to improve, like as manifest as the warrior energy. You know, these kind of things like that.
And I'm thinking this is very important because salads or raw food are generally speaking yin.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Bit on more on the feminine side. Well, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? And so those warm, and I think during the summer months when it's naturally 90 degrees, you have the heat, you see what I'm saying, to balance out the coolness of the food. But if you're eating primarily raw food, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, when it's already cold, it can create some stagnation without those warming foods.
Exactly. So we put the food together to create balance, basically. You know, we're going to create more energetic balance in the body. We're going to still be light, but we're still going to have things that's going to sustain, that's going to nourish us energetically. So when you go through a warrior training or when you go through any kind of activity, your energy is not tied up in the digestive system.
Oh, that's interesting. Cause I was looked at eating light as eating less, like, you know, because you're adding more to the salad. Where I thought it was just going to be the onions and the bell pepper and the spinach, like.
Yeah, and it can go that way too. But the thing is that, you know, just like Manifest was alluding to, it's like,
you get more, like you
get in a little bit more
nutrients.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And things that's going to give you more energy. Oh man, this is the recipe.
Oh, I understand.
So this is just kind of eye measuring. It's about a teaspoon approximately. I'm gonna add about the same as lemongrass powder.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the like I said, the warming properties is what you would is what balances out during the winter.
Yes.
Okay.
Lemongrass, the ginger. I'm gonna do about maybe a quarter teaspoon, give or take, worth of ginger. All right. And throw some onion powder in here, a little small amount, maybe about give or take a quarter teaspoon of that.
We gotta call this something now. Maybe it's the SageMen dressing or something. You just can't say dressing.
Yeah. The SageMen dressing.
SageMen pencil.
You get.
I would have called it that if I would have brought the sage.
The SageMen cooking show.
right. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm gonna use, so this is garlic powder. Put a little, don't need a lot for the garlic. This garlic is strong too. Maybe about, might be about, give or take an eighth to a quarter teaspoon. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the Himalayan pink salt.
This is not Morton's right here.
Not at
Not at all.
all. Alright, not a lot.
He'll be selling it soon, though.
It's about,
Yeah.
everybody see this, about maybe an eighth teaspoon.
Okay.
Not a lot at all.
Not a lot.
I saw
Yeah,
Brian.
that you don't need a lot of.
Brian's
You don't want a lot
ice
of.
cream the other day.
Alright. Take this here. Have to do it over this way. Blend it up. Do a taste test on it. Iron it out. And some people with the standard dressings and things of that nature, what some people will tend to do is add some kind of sugar, agave, something like that to it. Most of my dressings I tend not to do that with. If I have something that I want to add, I brought a little bit of stevia powder, which is better for digestion. Real quick test here. Needs a little bit more. A little bit more garlic. A little bit.
I just think, brothers, man, we could really impress the ladies in our lives, man. We can make some dressings.
Yeah,
You ain't lying.
that's quite impressive.
This is my first time seeing dressing being made.
Think about it. Like, how many people really make it dressing like that?
You see this here, like any blender you can use for this. Sometimes you don't even really need a blender. You could just stir it. But the blender will make it smoother.
Coagulate together, so to speak. Not coagulate, coalesce.
Make them homogeneous.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Not coagulate, coalesce.
And you don't
Yeah.
make too much at a time.
It's like you don't want it to coagulate too much.
It's hurting.
I got you.
So, this the
Yeah, right there.
chop this out.
Broccoli, the kids, they really think more highly if you make some dressing.
I ain't cooking nothing ever. I'm done. Hey, cook.
Oh, gosh.
I ain't cooking.
You put in the time.
I put my time down. Done.
Give everybody some samples here.
Samples.
We gotta keep it light though, yeah. I mean, for the warrior training, you know. Yeah, we make the forward part.
Screw the samples. I ain't come for no sample.
I eat a bowl that big.
Yeah.
He knows. Like, I'll
too.
eat that whole bowl.
Right.
That was funny.
Yeah, is that just for you?
I'm gonna pour this directly on here.
Okay.
Mix it in. This whole thing.
So again, prior to the water train, we'll keep this light, brother.
That's like.
It's like he said sample.
Right. As we prepare for the when the solstice, I mean, some people just do outright fast anyway. You know what I mean, keep fast.
Yeah.
Those think the same thing.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I feel like the hand mix might be the best way.
Yeah, that probably
I
comes in
prefer to
handy.
do it. Get a better mix than I'm trying to be fancy. You definitely get a better mix with the hand mix. And Anybody ever do this, like the hand mix with the salad? You usually do. Do you kind of like massage it in?
I can't say I've seen the size, but
It's before.
That's a good technique. Like you see how I'm kind of rubbing it a little bit?
Before it was like,
Yeah,
it's like might as well just like slow.
We some men sure what it was. When I say that, I mean that's what they dress kind of. I mean, for women here, yeah, like oh,
Yeah, where it is.
yeah. People would understand, you know, like he dudes just hungry as hell.
This for somebody.
I won't be the first.
What? You know,
No,
You
man.
might make those portions a little smaller, because you got 11 people in there.
first taste. First
Yeah,
taste.
Thank you.
Yes.
Rob, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna get some.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. Definitely.
Stay shocker.
All right.
yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you.
And
My name is Khalil Masi, Fudishi Khalil Masi. My father is Shaha Fudishi Masi, elder pioneering martial artist in America and in the world. Fourth level rank, first person Bondo. I'm not even gonna go down all the list of the things that he studied.
Bondo.
Bondo is a Burmese martial art. Very rare. Most people aren't even aware of it still to this day. It has various aspects in its system. It's a system of systems.
Like on back almost?
Huh?
Slightly like on back almost?
Well, that's one aspect of it. That's the left way.
The left way.
Left way is the Burma. It's a form of Southeast Asian kickboxing. We have several forms.
Okay.
Left way, Muay Thai, even Vietnam and some of the other Southeast Asian areas have their own form of kickboxing. But Bondo also has an internal system called Min Zen. Okay, it has animal systems. You have to, I don't want to go too far into this, but as a theater of war, Burma, with so many different cultures and stuff, was intersecting through there that it picked up all these different knowledge of the different systems, from kung fu to karate to to internal martial arts. So it's a system of systems that has many different aspects to it. I trained in that for the early part of my life. Then I went on, of course, following my father's path in the Pan-African Martial Arts Federation, basically, which people knew it as Kupigane Gumi. It basically we did research and study on the various aspects of martial arts that people of African descent have contributed to around the world, Africa, Asia, wherever we were, wherever we contributed to the martial art history and such. I've done everything from MMA to, I trained in MMA, I kickbox on the national level almost, I was asked to try out for a team that was qualifying for the Olympics for Taekwondo, but I turned that down. Had other stuff going on in my life. Fought a few professional fights for some tough man contests. I've been around the world in martial arts in terms of training. I've seen most of it. I don't like saying seen it all because that's too egotistical. I've seen most of what's out there and had a chance to at least interact and cross train with other people in capoeira and so forth like that. So that's my background in martial arts. Just very convinced. We can talk more about me later. That's not important. So what I do is I take notes and make notes and have some type of idea of what I'm going to do before I do something like this. But then it always changes. I'm sorry.
I want to ask this, and this is not related to this, but you just, anytime when you always introduce yourself, you always say your father's name. Is that part of just your correct religion? Like,
No, that's part of African tradition.
okay.
That's part of world tradition. You talk about elders and your ancestors, you don't talk about yourself. You talk about them. You talk about your lineage. Because your lineage tells who you are. If I tell you who they are, then I'm telling you about me. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. And those who come behind me will speak about me. That's how we pass on the knowledge, and that's how we venerate those who come before us, whether they're elders or ancestors. You see that in most indigenous cultures throughout the world. You create a spotlight for me. I talk about them. You know, and naturally, because you know who I am when I talk about them. You know.
But Infundi, you and your dad carry the same title.
So Infundishi is people have teacher, spiritual teacher, you know, whatever people, you know, I've heard so many different translations of it. My father, when he worked with Maulana Karenga, and whoever knows who he is, don't know who he is, of course, he was the elder of the US organization. He's a professor, historian, one of the earlier pioneers of Afrocentricity and cultural nationalism and such forth. My father worked with the US organization as in conjunction with BCD. BCD is the Black Community Defense, Black Community Development. Again, I don't want to go too far into this because I'm a little bit
creator of Kwanzaa.
Huh? He was the creator. I don't even like to use the word creator, but yeah.
Compiler.
He did his research and pulled together principles and formulated Kwanzaa. But those principles were already in our culture.
Right.
So when my father worked with Karenga, Karenga gave him the name Mfundishi. He was pretty much the first person here in North America using that name and that title. And now there are other people who have picked it up since then. But we were the first to utilize that, and what my father did is we began using that as one of the titles within our system and in our organization throughout the Pan-African Martial Arts Federation and Brotherhood and such forth. His brother in spirit, in Nganga Mfundishi Talona, when he and my father joined forces to create the Pan-African Martial Arts Federation, my father shared the name Mfundishi with him, so they were the first two, and then it's been passed on to several, like also Mfundishi Tayari Kasel, Mfundishi Jahutni Salim. There's several others. My elder brother in training under my father, not my brother by blood, but by spirit, Mfundishi Akili Aline. My brother's deceased, who was deceased, Mfundishi Malik Masi. And so we use that as one of the titles within our organization and system. So again, we can talk more about that later. But that's where that comes from. So, warriorhood. What does that mean? Let's throw it around the room. Let's throw it around the room first. No, you stay right where you are, bro. No, you stay right where you are.
First thing that comes to my mind is protector, defender.
And just anybody throw it out. I wrote some things up here.
Someone who rises to the challenge.
Okay.
I would say a courageous person.
Okay.
Someone who faces their fears.
Guardian of all things special.
Okay. Now, like I say, I write notes and stuff down, but then I end up freestyling based on what the situation is. So sometimes I'm going to go by my notes and sometimes we're going to go. Now, what I was asked to do was to do a training and a workshop on the warrior archetype. And by talking about that, we talk about principles, because principles are the highest level of knowledge in the martial arts. My father always talked about people being martially literate. Okay, to be martially literate, you have to discuss martial arts without just talking about sidekicks and punches and who's got the best split and all that type of stuff. Talk on the level of hopology, which is the study of martial culture. Okay.
What's that word again?
Hopology. It's the study of martial culture. Okay.
How are you spelling that?
Hopology is H-O-P-L-O-G. Hold on.
Okay. Like
H-O-P-L-O-L-O-G-Y. Not hopology, but hopology. Yeah. So, what are the definitions of warrior? Because I wanted to see what everybody else thought. So, is a person engaged or experiencing warfare broadly, a person engaged in some struggle or conflict? Yes. but it's deeper than that. And particularly when we talk about conflict, we're not talking about physical conflict with the outer world, we're talking about conflict within the self. All right? So, now as we opened up, I asked about what is a warrior. There are different types of principles or archetypes within the archetype of being a warrior. Okay? You have the king, all right? You have the hunter, the protector, the cultivator, the builder, the destroyer, the forger, all right? I didn't even write that down, the father, you know. Those are various aspects of being a warrior. I didn't write down also mother. We are talking about men right here today, but I just want to throw that out there because there has to be that balance. Okay, that mayat, that yin yang, you know, we have to have that, you know, in order to totally understand what a warrior is. These are all elements and aspects of what warrior are, what they've done, and what they do in society. If we talk about the warrior arts, we have to understand there would be no civilization without the warrior arts. Because the first thing that early human beings had to do was to protect themselves in order to be able to get to the level where we could build societies, families, communities, civilizations, to form and have agriculture, you know, all build libraries, you know. If you didn't have anyone to protect these things, you would never have them. And throughout martial art history, warrior history, and I just use the term martial art loosely, you know, in the Kemetic world, it's the Mantu, you know. We know when we say martial, we're speaking about it from the European, the Greco-Roman mentality, because martial art means basically you're talking about the aspect of the warrior tradition of Mars. So, okay.
Martial art.
But I do pay, you know, I don't get caught up in words, but I do try to make sure I define and explain where these terminologies come from. Again, you wouldn't have anything. Martial artists throughout history have not, you know, the greatest ones were not just fighters. You read throughout martial art and warrior history, many of the kings and statesmen and politicians, you know, you go into Chinese history, some of them were the greatest at, you know, doing the calligraphy and such forth like that. Singers, hunters, Bruce Lee, you come up to modern day, was an actor. His father was a Peking opera star, you know. So generals. So I say now it's been marginalized today into movies and films and MMA and such forth like that. But the martial sciences at one point were the premier sciences of the planet. And they basically gave the ability for the other, and there are people who may refute me or not. I'm not trying to speak as I'm the authority. As I said before, anything I say that's correct is due to my ancestors and elders and those who came before me. Anything that I say that incorrect is due to my own ignorance. All right. But these sciences gave the civilization, or gave the people the ability to create civilization. All right. This symbol that I put up here, the Tinwai's of Congo. I spoke about how I'm also a Yoruba priest. I'm also initiated into the Congo. My father has spent the past few decades researching and studying on the Congo tradition as it's related to esoteric systems, and even making comparative analysis to Buddhism and such forth. He is actually an initiated high-level Buddhist and had the Black Crown ceremony, one of the highest ceremonies in the Buddhist tradition. And part of his work within the Pan-African Martial Arts Federation is recovering some of the lost knowledge, you know, that we had amongst us in our civilization, and doing comparative analysis and such forth like that. He was one of the forerunners of it. There are many other people out here doing it now, and some are even doing it in a wider aspect, but my father was one of the first, if not the first, to begin research in this area. Now you have people who are uncovering the specific systems and such forth like that exist in Africa. I'm partnered with some of them, like the Lukanda organization, who are doing documentaries and research and so forth on African martial arts and so forth. So this symbol right here, the Tinwa Inza Congo, is one of the oldest, if not the oldest symbol for knowledge in the universe. What they call the Congolese cosmos, Congo cosmos. What you have here is the 4 movements of the sun. And we were talking about the solstice and such forth like that earlier. Okay, there are many things that are hidden in here. As you see, the cross is in there. What became known as the swastika is in there. You know, or at least the earliest format of it before it was taken over by the Europeans and so forth. This is the pattern of the sun as it moves throughout the heavens. All right. On a cosmological level, also, you have life, birth, power, creation. Okay. In terms of warriorhood, that's the beginning, that youth age, as you come into the world. Okay, and you grow. You know, and you begin to move towards adulthood, maturation. Okay. You can even break this down into the various age sets of warriorhood. We know those earliest age sets where the child is beginning to learn the warrior ways and they're separated from the mother. You know, and I've seen different societies have different age levels, 7, 9, 13, whatever. Okay, then there's a certain point where we're moved away from the mother and move into the ranks of men to train. And that's somewhere around here. As they move towards their maturation, to cool, the maturation, the pinnacle of warriorhood. Okay. From here, you have the Luvimba, which is an eldership, or the decline. And this is also symbolic of life. Creation of life of the universe, the planet, civilization, societies, man, everything. Okay? And it's also the path of the warrior, Luvimba. When you are moving and beginning to make your transition, spiritually, physically, mentally. And then you have Musoli, the spiritual world, the underworld. This line right here that cuts across is the spiritual world right here. The underworld, the spiritual world, the world of ancestors. Bakongo, Ifa, Kemet, Buddhism, whatever you want to name it, is all, you know, all of this is based on this. Okay, Christianity. Huh?
I was going to say that's called the journey of Ra and Kemet.
Exactly. The path of the warrior, the journey of Ra, coming forth by day. Coming forth by day. Okay, then going back through the death process, transforming, and facing that fear as you're going through the death process, the transforming. Okay. Yeah. So this is the path of the warrior, and the highest aspect of it, because we were talking about that earlier, wanted me to touch on that, is to, there are many paths of the warrior, many aspects of the warrior, but the highest path of the warrior is for the warrior to face death, and face oneself, you know. That is the highest path of the warrior. That is the only way a warrior can function when he gets past, he or she gets past the idea of fear of death, a fear of attachment to this physical world, to this physical plane. Not throwing away your life haphazardly, but understanding that this is fleeting. This is a moment in time, and we're only here for a second. We're only here for a second. And to live at our utmost and our highest, so that at any time we go, we know that we were operating in a manner in which we will be fully ourselves and bringing our best to this world. Right? Bringing our best to this world as well. Doesn't mean, you know, fighting. Fighting is one aspect of it. It's one aspect of it, you know. And in terms of fighting, we're just talking about struggle. Whether it's the actual physical struggle between human beings, civilizations, ideas, you know, the struggle of birth, coming into the world, coming through the canal. You know, struggling to get out there and to breathe, then growing, you know, all the struggles that you have to go through, like through that, preparing your body as a warrior, learning, getting to where you got to get to go, you know, and then the struggle of preparing for death. And then the process of going through the spirit world, as we talked about earlier, is dealing with all those elements as well, because everything is not all peachy keen on that side either. There are trials and tribulations and struggles that we have to deal with also in that world as well. And then rising back up, being reincarnated like Ra, like the Christ. Again, I'm not promoting any religion or anything. I'm just using these as examples and such. Okay. So for this, for us, is the highest symbol of warriorhood and warriorism. Okay. And again, it boils down to the highest principle of war is to face oneself, to face death, to face your mortality, to face challenges, obstacles, self-introspection, knowing thyself. Okay, that's what warriorhood is about.
Just a quick question. How do you relate facing yourself to facing death? Are they the same or is it different?
I'm going to turn that back on you, but I'll answer from my perspective. And everyone, even though we're all on the same path, we may have a different idea about it. So, for me, it's to get an understanding that, one, I am not this body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I am not this body. I am in this body. I'm using this body as a vehicle for the time that I'm here. And not getting attached to this body, not getting attached to the experiences that I'm having with this body. And it sounds strange.
Mm-mm.
Family, things you've done and achieved in life, food you like, from the minute to the, all of these things to the warrior become distraction. That does not mean that you don't deal with those and you don't have love for certain things like family and such forth, because that's a necessary aspect, particularly when we bring them into the world, or we make a family and such forth. But as a warrior, ultimately, you cannot get attached to anything, because those distractions keep you from being able to move forward on your path. Now, translate it to martial arts, because again, martial arts and warriorism are. Martial arts is part of warriorism, but warriorism is a bigger thing. In ancient traditions and systems, as a warrior, this is one of the reasons why you were removed away from society when you were going through your training and pretty much most of your warrior life. Because if you became and a lot of times you weren't allowed to even marry, particularly in many African societies, you weren't even allowed to marry until you finished with your time in the warrior ranks, or at least you reach a certain age at a level of eldership and such forth, because they were distractions. You couldn't operate on the highest level as a warrior if you were. You could have operated on your highest level as a warrior and a defender of the community if you were worried about your woman, you know what I'm saying, your property, and all these other little things. You weren't focused on your one goal, and that was the protection of the community. Once you moved forward at a certain level of age rank, then you were allowed to have those things, because there was a new set coming through that was the battlefield warriors, and they were in the forefront. And it progressed like that throughout your time as a warrior.
Is that level of training and dedication the same for the priests of the culture?
You mean in what?
In reference to family and life and all of that.
It depends on the culture and the society. It depends. You talk about it in the Yoruba or where?
I'm talking about like African culture.
And African, the thing about African culture is very wide ranging, and sometimes we say African culture, I think we're talking about one thing. In terms of the warriorhood, in terms of the priesthood, African priests, at least for as I know during this day and age, are allowed to marry.
During training or after?
During training, no, not during training. That's true. But you have to understand too, the African priests are raised from baby. You are born. The saying is that you are not. Awos are born, not made. Awos are Babalawo. Awo is short for Babalawo. So just like in the Buddhist tradition, you were born a Buddhist. You were a monk in a previous life. And they have the process of identifying you, selecting you, and then training you from here upwards. The same thing happens in traditional Nigerian culture. When I was in Nigeria, you had babies this small who knew how to divine. Okay.
How big you said?
This small, who knew how to divine, knew the Odu, knew, you know what I'm saying, knew the tradition. They still were, you know, they were learning. They didn't know it all, but that a 5-year-old would know more than a 50-year-old here because they were brought up and raised in it. And there's a process to determine, you know, who was a priest or who is supposed to be a priest, who was a priest. And most times they were a priest in your former life. My middle name in a Yoruba tradition is Awotunde. It means the Awo returns. So that means in a previous life, I was a traditional African priest. That name was divine for me. I just didn't take it, you know, and throw it on myself. So that name was identifying who I was in my previous life and who I am now. So, you know, it's a different process here. You know, we learn later because of disruption of the Mayafa, the slave trade. So, you know, yeah, in traditional Africa, you wouldn't have a wife because you would be learning.
You would be a child at the time.
Age. But you don't go your life without having a wife. It's encouraged to have. In the Yoruba tradition, it's encouraged to have wives. It's encouraged to have wives and to multiply. That's a whole other conversation. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Anybody have any more questions about this page right here? No. Okay. And there's always much more to talk about, but that's the basic. The coloring here is black, red, yellow, gray to demarcate each of those phases. Okay.
Say gray or green?
Gray.
You said
Black, yellow,
Death,
red.
the underworld gray. Black is that primal essence that create everything comes out of. Okay, the darkness. Okay. The yellow, the sun, the high point. When you're going into the red, you're preparing to go into death. That's the warning sign also. Again, I speak as a student, not as an expert. I always make my disclaimer.
Okay, so the one on the right is black, one on the top is what now?
red.
Yellow.
No. Black, yellow, red, gray.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. And I can, I'm going to send some information to Manifest.
Absolutely.
Actual charts and such forth. I mean, Manifest knows about this already.
Yeah.
He's had four better lessons than I can teach to him. You know,
Right.
working with my father. But
Did your father have a book?
he has several of the books. That's a whole other thing. He has Essential Warrior. He has the Awakened Warrior.
Essential Warrior. That's what it is.
A quick plug. My father's in the hospital. He should be coming home soon, but we're doing a fundraiser for him right now. I'll send that information out. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too small. I'll send it out. And it's even more important to me than you donating to it is to spread it to your network. That's even more important to me. You know,
so how would someone donate?
It's a GoFundMe.
What's the GoFundMe?
GoFundMe is an online.
What GoFundMe.com?
But I'll send
he wants your dad.
Shaha Infudishi Masi Medical Fundraiser.
Okay, at some point, could you write that
I'll write
up there?
it down.
So it'll be up on.
You gonna send it?
I am going to send it to Manifest also.
And then we'll send it out to distribution.
But it's Shaha Infudishi Masi Medical Fundraiser. In that fundraiser also for $10, you get one of his books, Essential Warrior, Bondo Monk, or Awakened Warrior. For $20, you get 2 books. For $3, you get all 3. For $30, you get all 3 books. Beyond that, it's up to you if you wish to donate further out of love. You know. Yeah. So.
And we prior to our 90-day process, I purchased some books from your dad for the brothers.
Those are the ones you gave out.
So a few of the brothers have them already.
Now, my father's school also is based in Maryland. It's based in Baltimore, Maryland. For anybody who's close by and want to go, check him out. Right now, he's not well, so he's not going to be teaching personally, but he has well-qualified students in the area who can, take care of you.
Send that with the link so
Exactly.
we can get that distributed.
Exactly. Some of the archetypes, again, of a warrior. The archetypes of an archetype. So, from the European tradition, I'll discuss them. Shango, who is, people debate whether he was the third or the fourth king of the Oya Empire. Okay, he was an actual real live human being. Okay. He is what is now called an Orisha. The Orisha are basically angelic forces, for lack of a better word. I just try to create a comparative analysis so people understand. You know, when Europeans came forward, they said, these are gods, they're worshiping gods. No, we believe in one creator. And I'm not promoting anything right now, but his name is Olodumare, which is one of his names. And he's the same creator that is the creator in every tradition on the planet. This is just who we call him. Okay? So Shango, he's a king. He represents kingship, warrior, fire. Okay? He was a diviner and a dancer and a lover. Okay? Manliness. That's an aspect of archetype of warriorship. Okay? Ogun, he's the chief of the warriors. Okay? And many, no, all of the Orisha, am I incorrect, were human beings at one time. People mistake the Orisha for the Erumole. The Erumole were always in heaven. The Orisha were born on earth and then ascended. The same way, I guess the closest way I could relate it to is if you were in Catholicism, that they became saints. They became saints and then angels or angelic forces. Okay? Ogun, the Balagun, the chief of the warrior. The chief of the warriors, the warlord, the master of iron. Also the cultivation of iron, the cultivation of the plant, to be able to cultivate the land using iron. Okay? That's what Ogun is. Arumala, and this is not in order that says this is the order that it has to be. Okay, Arumala, who is the, and some will probably think I should have had that up top, but I was just writing. Arumala, who is the prophet of the Yoruba tradition. Abanigun Ela. Okay, Ifa, that we call his name. People know the tradition as the name of Ifa. And you can take this and you can cross-relate this to Kemet and to any other tradition that you said. You will find these same archetypes in the Hindu, in the Greek, in the Norse, and whatever. Okay? Arumala represents wisdom, divine, to be able to divine to information and knowledge and wisdom and to disseminate it amongst the people. Okay? He's the prophet, you know, of the Yoruba tradition. Obatala, who is usually symbolized in white, represents purity, you know, eldership, leadership. Okay? All these, again, are aspects of warriorhood. Oshoshi, Ogun's companion, the hunter. Okay, we know how important hunting was to the society. You know, to be able to feed the people, okay? And most of the warrior societies developed out of the hunting society. Most people don't know that. You know, the tactics that you learn to hunt prey were also the tactics that you learn to use in warfare. Okay? So Josie was the hunter, true sight, true vision, aim. His symbol is the bow and arrow. One of his symbols. You know, to be able to pierce through, physically, mentally, spiritually. Okay, Eshu, the messenger, the holder of the Ashe of the universe. All right. Also, Eshu is associated with signifying, trickery, technology. Okay, one of the main aspects of the martial art of capoeira. Okay, or 52 blocks. The martial art of 52 blocks, and those who know what that is. It's
52 blocks.
52 blocks is an African American tradition of martial arts, which is traced back to Africa. It's traced to the early Africans being brought over here and bringing their martial arts systems with them, their combat styles, it being transformed. You see a lot of it is transforming into boxing right now.
Yeah, that's what
people like Zab Judah, Mike Tyson, and such forth like that. but they would fight for this back in the pit fighting. You know, in early versions called knock and kick, or a more traditional name, Una-Onsa. You know, but that signifying aspect, that playing that game, capoeira with the jig and trying to throw them off. You know, that's what that is. That's the energy of that shoot. Because West African combat, Congo combat, particularly, and particularly capoeira, was a form of guerrilla warfare. It wasn't direct. You know, you had to hide it. It was basically, in many ways, an ninjutsu of the African martial arts world.
Wasn't it my understanding? My understanding was that in terms of the hidden portion was that it was a way to teach it without them knowing it was being
right in front. Any questions?
Okay, which ones are the ones that you added?
Let me see something here. Usually you'll see strength or power. I see them as two different things. Sensitivity also. Okay.
Can you, just a small question. Explain the magic one to me. Can you go deeper into the magic?
I will, but I'm not going to deal too much with that. But what is magic? That's the question first. And what is your understanding of it?
The will to manipulate forces.
Huh?
The will to manipulate forces and energies.
Like, because what the brother is doing over there in the kitchen is magic. Write it down. All right? Using various herbs, food, and such forth to bring about a certain result within your body. It also affects you mentally as well. Also, if you eat those foods and you ever observe yourself, that's why you'll see changes in that too. Now, there are different levels of what is called magic, which is another one of the higher elements of the principles of the martial arts. Don't talk about that much. Most of that is for the initiated. You know, most of that's for the initiated. In E5, we have what's called afose. And that's the power of the word, the voice. You know, traditionally magic, not traditionally, but in this new world, magic has been taught as this mysterious hoo booger thing. Somebody walked through the wall. You know, things appear out of nowhere. And that may be true in some instances. You may have had some experience. I've seen some things too. But if you talk about alchemy and such forth like that, just to be able to work with certain elements, you know, and change things and get certain results and such forth like that. So different levels of understanding of magic. Okay, so. People, again, I'm not saying you think that way, but people get these ideas and they're waiting to see some great, big phantasm, you know, fantastic happening.
Yeah, get to the real part of it. Exactly.
And again, for those things, those who know, those who don't know.
Exactly.
You know, those are things you just don't put out and talk about. But I've seen things, you know. There's some things online. You can go and see people passing blades, you know, through their flesh. And then there'll be no marks and forth, like in Africa. Okay, so there's certain mysteries that I've seen things. Some things that I've seen. So I think that's what I put on here. Now, in terms of the actual training, my father developed, you said how long did I go to?
About 5:30.
Okay, cool. They'll give us some time to get some stuff in. My father is a world-renowned, world-class martial artist from the pioneering era of martial arts in America as it became popular. Studied many different systems of martial arts. I'm not 1% of what he is. Okay. Different era, different situation going on. And he had a whole different level of dedication because his spiritual calling, you know, we talked again about our destiny and what we agreed to do before we come into this planet, as well as what he was doing on behalf of people during that time. He was a black nationalist Pan-African and he was out in the streets you know, fighting for the rights of us to be who we are right now, you know. So he has a whole nother level of training. That's a whole nother. He always says that I had more physical ability than him. Just pure natural physical ability and talent. But his level of scholarship in the martial arts is on a whole nother plane. So I just do my little piece. And that's another reason I always mention, because of just like the children of other greats, part of my life mission is to honor my father and keep his work and his legacy going. You see the children of Paul Robeson, the Malcolm X, Betty Shabazz. This is what we do. Your kings, whoever. We preserve their legacy and we pass it forward. So that's one of the ways I tribute my father, to continue this work. Again, anything that I get correct is through him, and those who came before him. Anything I get incorrect is through my own ignorance. But I was saying that he studied all of these systems, and when he began my training, it was in a martial art called Bondo as my base. But then as I grew older, I left the Bondo system, and he began to inundate me with all, and while I was growing, all these other, because of who he was, he had all of these people and systems that he was connected to, and I had aspect to pull all of this stuff in. And he actually taught it as he moved on and moved away from the Bondo system, which he does still teach, but he does not function in that capacity officially. He, like many martial artists, created his own system of teaching. He teaches, and he has students who each have a piece of what he teaches. He has made sure that his stuff is preserved, not just within myself, but other students who are out there. The main system of training that I train in is called Moyo Kazi, which is one of the systems he developed. Moyo Kazi, energy work. It's like saying Qigong. And it's based on his study of internal martial arts system. Tai Chi, Qigong, Min Zen of Burma, he's cross-trained in the Shaolin. I mean, I can, not physically, but he's been able to interface with so many martial artists and pull so much stuff together. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys here today, in aspects of Moyo Kazi. I'm going to try to fit in some of the internal drills. And again, I come from a martial arts aspect, so they will be martial arts related, but they still are good for physically strengthening yourself and healing as well also. So there'll be meditation, there'll be movement, and there'll even be some physical interplay, but not combat. All right. Everybody, let's take a 3 to 5 minute break.
Sound for the lungs is a continuous S. Everybody say that? So you want to let go when you say that. We're going to push up when we say that. Then the healing sound for the kidneys is chew, or at least one of them. CHOOO. Everybody say that? Chew. Chew. And then the liver, one of the healing sounds, is a continuous SH. It's like you tell yourself to quiet down, relax, that kind of thing. And in the heart, a few different sounds. The one I like is more self-love. I guess that's what I've needed. But if you think of a newborn baby or a cloudless sky, what do you say? What's that? That's the healing sound for the heart.
No, I typically say, what's that, when I'm looking up at the sky. But anyway.
Absolutely. And then the spleen, one of the healing sounds, is kind of a guttury woo. Woo. Everybody say that. Woo. And And so we'll go through basic general movements as we do this.
Show.
Oh yeah, I'll send that out. Don't worry about that, but I'll send it out. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll send it out tomorrow to everyone. And we get this on video, that way some folks could remember doing it. So feet, shoulders apart, and the healing sounds, at least from the Asian tradition. And it goes, all the healing sounds, the universal. You can find healing sounds all across the world in indigenous systems. But for a long time, if you were sick and ill, a Chinese doctor would tell you to do the healing sounds prior to acupuncture, anything else. Because they realize most illnesses start with the negative emotions. And remember what I said, 20 to 70 trillion cells in the body. So if we're affirming negative emotions in the body, then that's going to impede the flow of energy to those vital organs and the cellular makeup. So this is a very powerful process, particularly I do it every morning. You know what I mean? I do the healing sounds every morning. Sometimes I do them twice a day. And it makes a tremendous difference just with my own energy and the energy I'm sharing with others. So, feet shoulders apart, knees slightly bent, palms up just in front of the belly here. Shoulders relaxed. Slowly bring the palms up. Inhale the color white. Deep breath in. As you pass the forehead, pineal gland, push up, healing sound. Turn the palms back. Inhale the color white, deep down into the lungs, fully opening the lungs. A sense of courage to take in as much dynamic vitality as possible. Courage. No sound, just relax down. Palms up. Inhale. Deep courage. And release. Turn the palms facing you. Inhale the color white. All the way down through the crown, through the lungs, fully opening up the lungs. Courage. No sound, just relax down. Again, breathing in. Release. Inhale the color white, fully opening up the lungs. Sense of courage. Good. Arms up now. Just smiling to the lungs, just for a few seconds. See the color white, enlivening the lungs, purifying the lungs. Gratitude, silently give thanks to the lungs. Now we'll do the kidneys. Healing sound is chew. Color is black or blue. I prefer, particularly this time of year, to tap into the primordial gene. Color black, the dark matter, black matter. So as you embrace the dark matter, feel a sense of calm and inner fortification. And as we let go of fear, we're going to make the sound chew. So slowly lean back into the kidneys, lifting up the palms, up to about the shoulders, over, push down, releasing fear. Chew. Feel that release from the kidneys, slow, quickly coming up. Inhaling into the kidneys, the color is black. Up, palms, and release fear. Inhale, sense of calm, color black, into the kidneys. Up, release. Breathing into the kidneys, palms up. Color black, sense of calm. Infinite primordial gene, substance by which everything is created in the universe.
Giving thanks, gratitude, attitude, gratitude for the kidneys, in which life springs forth. Essence of the kidneys. Now we do the liver. The liver is on the right side below the chest and the rib cage. Deals with kindness, healing sounds, and continuous SH to release any bitterness, anger, frustration. So relax, palms down. And just watch me first. I'm going to bring my palms up as I inhale. I'm going to roll the palms up. Then I'm going to lean to the left, making a healing sound, opening up this area right here, releasing. You'll feel that. And then when we come back up, imagine yourself a tree branching out with kindness, growth, and relaxation. Slowly out. So we'll begin. Inhale, palm up. Raising palms up, lean to the left, release. Come back up to the center, breathe in. Color green throughout the body. Exhale, no sound, just branching out, relax. Sense of kindness throughout your being. Arms all the way down. Again, inhale, coming up. Release. Go back up, breathe in. Color green, kindness throughout the body, relax. And one more time. Release anger, bitterness, frustration. Breathe in, sense of kindness, color green, reach out, relax, slowly. Turn your palms up, smiling into the liver, right side below the rib cage. Giving thanks, attitude of gratitude, embracing kindness throughout your being. Next is the heart. Feeling sound is embrace the color red at the heart, sense of joy and love, and let go of anything and everything else. So, as an initial part of this, we're going to bring energy down using the yogic mantra Om, bringing this divine intelligence down through the crown to the heart. Just follow me. Palms facing down, connecting with the earth. Inhale. Then rotate palms up to heaven. Bring palms together. Om sound. Om. Turn palms facing the heart. Inhale as you open the palms, open the heart. Palms forward. Healing sound for the heart. Palms back, gathering, smiling as self-love, sense of joy. Turn palms down, no sound. Exhale slowly. Palms facing down, connecting with the earth. Slowly up. Inhale. Rotate palms up. Continue to inhale. Oneness vibration. Om. Opening the palms, opening the heart. Healing sound. And smiling back into the heart, color red, sense of joy, love, self-love. Palms facing down, no sound, relax slowly. One more time, slowly up, inhale. Then rotate palms up. Oneness vibration. Om. Opening the heart, opening the palm. Healing sound. And smiling back into your heart, joy, love, color red. Palms facing down, no sound, relaxing. Rotate palms up, chest to the waist, smiling into the heart just for a few seconds. Giving thanks, attitude of gratitude for self-love, joy, and compassion. Thanking the heart for doing its job. Now bring the back of the hands together, fingers facing the body, touching the left side of the abdomen. Left side is where the spleen is. And what we want to do is imagine the feet being 3 feet into the earth, fully grounded, trusting, and secure. And envisioning the color yellow. And on the exhale, we want to push in to the left and make the guttery sound to release anxiety and worry of woo. And then slowly lean back to the right side, color yellow. Remember 3 feet into the earth and feeling trusting and grounded even though you're moving to the side. So palms here, fingers here to the left side abdomen. Lean to the right, knees slightly bent. Fully engage the earth element. 3 feet in, back to the left, release anxiety. Pushing in the fingertips there. Inhale back to the right, the color yellow. Sense of trust, groundedness, security. Back to the left, releasing anxiety. Inhale to the right again, color yellow. Sense of trust, groundedness, and release worry and anxiety. And slowly back up, palms facing up. Smiling into the left side of the abdomen, embracing trust, security, giving thanks for the spleen for doing its job. The last of the healing sounds is the triple warmer, which is an area from the lung area all the way down through the body. No color, just the healing sound, H-E-E-E-E-E. Everybody say that? E. And the goal is to feel that sound vibration throughout the body. So relax the palms down. Inhale coming up. Rotate palms up. Bring palms in, healing sound. Back out. Inhale. And one more time. And just brief standing meditation. We'll leave that Brother Khalil, just a standing meditation, just being empty. Lead a standing meditation.
And just get the knees, staying shoulders width apart. We're gonna keep our arms at your air or right now. Just gonna let all of the weight of our body drop downwards to the floor. Moving in. And just natural breathing pattern. Deep inhalation. Deep exhalation. Get proper posture, form, spine straight, head erect. Turn the tongue to the roof, to the mouth. Breathing from the diaphragm. And just being empty. attention to any thought or any feeling. Just be and observe. And just take 9 deep inhalation and exhalations.
Continue to breathe naturally. Just bring awareness to the soles of the feet, like above the spring points. I want you to imagine the roots extending from the soles of the feet down to the core of the earth, divinely grounding and rooting you. Shango energy. Sacred manhood, vitality, rhythm. Nothing can move you. And I want you to bring awareness to the crown of your head. Imagine a string emitting from the crown far away infinitely up into the heavens, the sky, universe. Just ever so slightly raising the crown. Just keep your awareness at the crown. Simultaneously focus on the soles of the feet and the crown of the head. Feel grounded, rooted, and aligned. And of course, breathe from the belly. 3 primary areas we're breathing from, expanding outwards. Soles of the feet, crown of the head, and the belly. And slowly sink weight on the right leg. Sink weight on the right leg. Bring the left foot slightly in, and step out diagonally with the left foot. Slowly sink weight on the left knee slightly. I want you to bring the thumbs together with the pinky, and then that finger next to the pinky on the thumb as well. So what we'll do is a heart mind mudra. So I want you to bring the left palm up to the pineal gland, third eye or the first eye. And the right palm here is at the heart. In the School of Wisdom, where we cultivate what's known as the heart mind, which is very different from the ego mind. It's a merging of the heart and the pineal gland. So we have a higher level of divine intelligence, awareness, channeling. Breathing from the belly and focusing your awareness between the merging of the heart and the pineal gland. Breathing from those 3 areas, in the belly, progress. Feel this connection between the heart and your first eye. And then slowly bring the palms down. Inch by inch. And shift way back on the right leg and step back with the left foot. You have your palms facing up now. Chest, around hip area. Bring your awareness back to, or maintain it rather, at the heart and pineal gland. And slightly bend. What we're going to do now is we're going to ask our hearts silently for clarity regarding our vision, our grand vision for 2020. Continue to focus at the heart and the pineal gland. Asking that God intelligence within, through the heart mind, for clarity, for insight. Insight for 2020, you personally. What is it that you must have in your vision? Don't try to control what comes. Just be receptive to it. What's your vision for family? What's your vision for your well-being personally? See yourself. Are you working out, doing meditation, eating better, sleeping better? What's your vision for your well-being? What's your vision for relationships? What's your vision for abundance or purpose, career? You need to be more of a team player. refining certain skills. What's your vision? Ask your heart, what's your vision for purpose, career, abundance? Now bring awareness to any fears that you may have and envision yourself transcending the fears. What does that look like? What is your heart mind guiding you to do to transcend the fear? Could be anything that we've learned today so far. And slowly bring your palms to your heart. Take a bow to honor the divine within your own being, as well as that within every brother who joined us in this process. And slowly back up. Now we're going to do a very brief part. The second part of this is that do an exercise called dual visioning. So, and we'll just do this with a few people. I've done this very powerful exercise, similar to mastermind. So whatever came up for you, partner with a brother, and there's a dual visioning process. So if relationships are very important, me starting my family, I will share with the brother what came up, and he listens, and then after seconds or he actually tunes in. He's aligned with my visioning process, and he's in the energetic field of my vision. And then he actually, whatever comes up relative to him, that's the benefit, that's going to benefit and uplift and help me manifest my vision, he's going to add to that. So it's a interactive process. And we just do that for just a couple of minutes, if you will. And so what you do, it's like, we'll demonstrate. So